Where was the one-game bump for the Panthers? Why didn't the Panthers get a one-game bump of energy and enthusiasm? And I didn't even realize what it meant until I was thinking about it today. Because the one-game bump is pretty tried and true. You get an interim head coach or a backup quarterback being thrust into that role. Everybody plays with higher energy. You rally around that person. You recognize they're in a very, very difficult spot, and you give a little extra oomph to make their job easier. I've seen it at every level of football. Heck, NC State got it twice this year. When they benched Brennan Armstrong, went to MJ Morris, the Marshall game, rally around him, everybody. Get the young guy ready. MJ Morris decides to redshirt. Brennan Armstrong comes back in for Wake Forest. They're still riding that one-game bump of Brennan Armstrong coming in and getting his confidence back because everybody rallied around him. Mm-hmm. The Panthers fired their coach, brought in an interim head coach, Chris Tabor, supposedly a crowd favorite. That's why they named him a team favorite. And they got no rally, no bump, no energy, no extra enthusiasm. No, hey, coach is out there trying to make a name for himself. Let's go out there and give everything we got for him. It was the same old listless lack of energy that we've expected from the Panthers this year.
And usually if a coach gets fired, it's indicative of the players and how they're playing too. It's like, hey, that guy got fired, but it's because you all have not been playing up to the standard that we expect. Yeah, pick it up.
And they just didn't. The outlook and vibe of the Panthers didn't get the boost you'd anticipate. What is the cause of that? I think quite high likelihood of selfishness. Selfishness. And you start connecting the dots to some other things we've heard. There's an athletic report out there on the culture within the Panthers, and one of the anecdotes, one of the reports being done is that there are assistant coaches and even the GM that were going around Frank Reich and talking to David Tepper about how Frank Reich and the offensive staff may have been mishandling Bryce Young's development. Talk about that kind of selfishness, right? You're trying to distance yourself from a problem that you're a part of, right? It's not me. I'm not doing it. It's his fault. That's not how any of this works. That's selfish. If you don't give a boost to your effort and intensity to rally around someone who is in a tough situation like Chris Tabor was, what does that say about you? Right? If you're not rallying to help someone else who needs it, what does that say about you? You're not worried about them. You're not worried about someone else. You're not worried about helping them. You're not worried about it. You're worried about you. If Frank Reich is doing something you don't think is right in the development of Bryce Young, running to David Tepper, that's you worrying about you, right? You want him to know that you're not a part of it instead of trying to convince Frank Reich to do what you think is right and then living with whatever decision he makes because he's the head coach and you're a part of the same team. Like it's part of being a team. If a wide receiver goes to the quarterback and says, I was open on that play, that's fine, right? If the wide receiver goes over the quarterback's head to the offensive coordinator and says, he's never throwing it to me, he misses it, that's selfish, right? Selfishness is the worst thing to infect a team because inherently, like ultimate team game, you have to be, I always say when things go bad, you attract the blame. When things go well, you deflect the credit, right? Mm-hmm. When things are going bad for the Panthers and everybody's trying to deflect the blame, that's reverse. What you want it to be is when things are going well, you have the offensive coordinator going, the head coach just sets us up, puts us in a great position. You got the head coach saying, my staff and my players, they deserve all the credit. The players saying the coaches are putting us in perfect positions. The coaches are saying the players are really executing at going above and beyond what our play calls are doing.
Everyone's bought in.
Everyone's bought in. And then when things are going poorly, I need to be better. Starts with me. Right? I need to fix it. It's a coaching issue. This is coming from the head coach. The offensive coordinator says, hey, the head coach really gives us the reign to own our offense, and I need to get us in shape. The quarterback saying, coach is calling great plays, we got to execute better. I have to execute better. It's an attraction thing. There's none of that with the Panthers. I will say, actually, Bryce Young does say it. That's because he always says the right thing. Mm-hmm. It seems like everything we hear about the internals of the Panthers, selfish. And then the fact that you don't get the one-game bump, that Chris Tabor was out there flapping in the breeze, right, with dreams of building his head coaching resume off of this little interim run and asking the players just to give him a little bit more effort. And they said, well, how about the same amount of effort, maybe even a little less than we've been given? I mean, heck, we might even get a lead, but we won't hold it for more than a play or two, which is exactly what happened, by the way. Selfishness is it's rust on a boat. It spreads quick and it's hard as heck to get rid of. Mm-hmm. And once it gets in, it's the factions, right? Then this group is blaming that group is blaming the other group, the defense is blaming the offense, coaches are blaming the players are blaming the coaches, and nobody's working towards a solution. One of my favorite phrases. Be a solutions guy, not just a problems guy. Mm-hmm. Be a solutions person, not just a problems person. It's one of the best pieces of career advice I've ever been given. Is if you have a problem, when you go to your boss with the problem, have a suggesting solution, right? Hey, just so you know, the microphones aren't working right now, right? Because this is my industry that I'm thinking of, right? Showed up at the studio, the microphones aren't working. If you want us to, we can take the remote equipment, go into the other room, and it'll be like a remote but home, right? We're going to do it as if we're somewhere else. That way we don't have to use the mics in our studio, right? That's presenting a problem. That is a huge problem, by the way. Microphones aren't working and it's radio. Big problem. But also saying, listen, we've got a kind of a workaround for now so you can focus on the big problem and we'll take care of getting a show on the air. Like, that is important. Right now, it feels like everyone in the Panthers are going like, Bryce Young's not developing. Here's the problem. Here's the problem. Here's the problem. Okay, well, how do we fix it, right? Like give us the way to do it better. Let's all get in a room and try to solve this thing. Like be a solutions person, not just a problems person.
That's your job as a coach.
It is.
When you see the problems, you got to figure out the solutions to fix it.
And it's your job as a player, right? Hey, I want to throw that dig. I want to throw that deep in route, but every time I do, it feels like that safety's right on top of it. Do you think we could cut it 1.5 yards short, one step short, right? Do you think he could round the cut rather than running up and running like a right angle cut? Because that way he'll get there a bit faster. Like, bring solutions to the table. And then the coach might say, no, it's a dumb idea. The coach also might say, like, all right, let's try it. Mm-hmm. Like, let's run it in 7-on-7, see how it feels. It's not just about distancing yourself from the problem. Saying, it's not my job. It's about solving the problem.
Anyone that's ever worked in, people are probably listening to this, probably realizing this sounds like my job.
Yes.
It's seriously, it's the office politicking, and this person isn't doing the thing right, and I can't do this because of this or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And you do all these things behind the back. And then the problem where that continues to rise is when the person that's up top doesn't squash it. Because if assistant coaches were going to David Tepper, why isn't Tepper going to Frank Reich like, hey, your coaches are coming in here and saying this kind of stuff. Let's have a mediation. Let's fix this thing.
Exactly. It's okay.
Like, you guys figure it out. And if it doesn't going to work, someone's got to go.
Assistant coach A goes to Tepper and says, Frank Reich this, Frank Reich that. Oh, really? Okay, well, you stay right here. I'm going to call Frank and get him up here.
Yeah.
The three of us are going to be in a room.
We're going to figure this out right now.
And just so you know, assistant coach A, my solution might be shut your mouth and listen to the head coach, right? Because he's the head coach, and that's kind of his job.
There's a rank and file here.
Exactly. So we're going to get to the bottom of it. Maybe there is something we could do a little bit better, but also maybe you don't come to the owner's box ever again.